What's up guys, it's Infra here with a list of the top 5 things you are doing wrong whilst playing Ranked Joust. These are all really common things that you could do to make things difficult for you when you're trying to climb the ranked ladder. Before I start, I want to mention that this guide isn't only for beginners, but people of all ranks that are likely doing at least one of these things wrong. If you're trying to be the best Smite player you can be, getting rid of these bad habits will be a game changer in your success. Let's get straight into mistake number 1, which is starting at the wrong buffs. Now, ever since the new Joust map came out at the start of Season 7, people were unsure about the best way to get farm around the map. And with the addition of speed buff and red buff spawning 2 minutes later than before, there was never a determined best way to start off the game. What ended up mostly happening is that everyone would start at the speed buff, and then head straight to blue buff, and finally walk to the wave. The problem with this is that it takes far too much time to do, and lets you get ambushed very easily on the blue buff. It gives up wave pressure, which can often lead to the opposition getting the first red buff. There is a better way to start off however, which makes it far faster to get to the wave, and even gives you time to try and steal the enemy blue buff if you're fast enough. If you start with your mage and your tank at blue buff, and let your carry solo the speed buff, it's much quicker and gives you fantastic lane pressure and kill potential. Some people already do this, but when you want to try it, let your teammates know in advance to avoid confusion. Mistake number 2 is not backing. This mistake is probably the one I see most frequently in my games, and it can really cost you quite a lot. I see all the time people stay around at low HP in order to get that one more wave, or try and steal red buff early on. It's not worth it at all sticking around when you're more than likely going to die if you get hit by a single ability. In Joust, the path to lane is so short when compared to other game modes like Conquest or Clash, that you can really make use of backing whenever. If you're fighting early on, you'll most likely want to back and make it back to lane before the 2-minute mark, so you can have the best possible fight for red buff. Furthermore, if there's ever a point where there's nothing left to get on the map, which in Joust is very common, just return to base and get that tier 2 item, or a second relic, or anything that might give you an advantage in the next important fight. Mistake number 3 is something you might have heard if you watched Conquest guides before, but it is just as important in Joust, and also much easier to do as well. This of course is making use of your wards. In Season 7, we got access to vision shards, which in the early game can be used for a few specific locations to give you a large advantage in an early engagement. Shown here are a couple of the key points that should always be warded if you have vision shard ready. It's also especially useful around the red buff corner, where you can see exactly if they try and steal it. Later on in the game, you'll likely have a second relic, at which point you'll have to buy regular wards instead from the shop. If you ever try and pull a Bull Demon King, here are some key ward spots that will let you know exactly where the enemies are, giving you a lot of information and safety in the area. This brings us to the 4th mistake, which is not knowing when to go for the Demon King. The Demon King is your best friend for ending games, breaking that frustrating stalemate where you're standing at the tower line, unable to push, and just nothing's happening. The Demon King is a lot squishier than the Fire Giant and Gold Fury in Conquest. They can be killed by 2 people as long as you have a couple of items online. Hunters can even solo this with lifesteal, and with a mage ultimate, you can typically burst it down and secure it in around 10 seconds. If you have good wall vision, you can go for this objective to break a game wide open. A lot of newer players tend to ignore it, and just go for fights and tower dives instead. But this often doesn't really do much for you. But when you learn when you can force or sneak the Demon King, it will turn a lot of games in your favour. The final mistake on this list doesn't revolve around your gameplay, but in my opinion is the most important one on this list. The biggest mistake that people make in Ranked Joust is solo queuing. Now, I know that there are sometimes points where you have no option in this. People might not be around, or sometimes you just don't know anyone. But when you get into a game and you're put in with 2 randoms against a full party of people that have partied up on voice comms and they're ready to go, you're at a major disadvantage before the game has even started. When you team up with 2 people beforehand, you're able to establish which classes you want to play, and you can even get your preferred role beforehand and know what god you want to play, so you aren't forced onto something that you aren't comfortable with. There's a reason that it lets people group as a party of 3, as it gives you an advantage if you're able to coordinate yourselves as a team. Now if you're watching this thinking, I don't know anyone on Smite, there's no other option except solo queuing for me, then I have a few tips that might help you find some people. The first tip is after a successful solo queue game, to message one of your teammates that played particularly well, or was really nice to you, and ask if they want to party up. You can meet a lot of new friends this way, and ideally, stay as a group of 3 afterwards. Another option is to search for people in Discord servers, and try to get a party going in voice communications. It's all about your connections, and playing with people as good as, or better than yourself, not only is going to help you win a lot more often, but it will also help you improve too. Well, that's it for this one guys, your top 5 mistakes in Ranked Joust. Make sure to let me know in the comments if you've made any of these mistakes yourself, or if you see them in your own games frequently. Finally, make sure to check out my Discord server dedicated to helping people with Ranked Joust. Perhaps you can find someone like yourself in search of people to queue up with. So that's it for this one, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.